My goal is to get like anywhere between 10 and 20,000 followers on Instagram.
Huh?
And then that's like enough to do like some brand deal stuff and give free shit. And that's kind of
Okay. All
like
right.
if Yeti will send me like their cast iron or extra tough sends me some deck boots. I mean, like that would be worth the, I don't know, 50,000 a year I spend in marketing. Like I can go buy all that shit and just delete Facebook and Instagram, but I would rather like if someone sent me even like a $20 thing, I'd be like, see, it's worth it. It's working, you know.
I mean, you're still upside down on this entire
Oh,
endeavor.
significantly.
Have you found that social media has affected your business at all, or is that just ancillary?
No, it has greatly affected my business in a positive way just because like I'm getting my face out there so much more and people are starting to recognize me. Like I was at this church thing the other day and I was cooking some wild game and for like this cook off thing. And basically like I had several people come up to me like, oh, I see your videos on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. Like you look like you're like crushing it in the land game and all that. And these people I've never heard of, never seen in my life. And they were like, it was like a church event, but it was like invite all your buddies kind of thing.
Yep.
So there was a
Yep.
bunch of people that didn't even go to our church, but, um, and I get told by other friends, it was like, oh, Nick, like, oh, I see his videos. And I'm like, I've never even heard of these people. And I'm getting phone calls and stuff for land and listings and buyer consults from that. And I would say my engagement from a metric standpoint is pretty low.
Right.
And so what I tell people that like, cause I get like other businesses and small businesses in town, whether it be a service-based business or even other realtors, they're like, is it worth doing all the content? I'm like, yes, but you can't look at the metrics and get discouraged. You just got to every week I film with my photographer or my video guy, and every week I'm doing content. Like I have probably 6 videos in production right now, and that's like a churn, and it's like you like if you want to go viral and be famous, that's one thing, but like as a realtor, it's like why would I want to be famous outside of my town? It's like I don't want, if a bunch of people in Connecticut are watching my videos, that's cool, I guess, but like that's not putting money in my pocket because those people aren't going to call me to sell, and if they
Yeah.
did, I wouldn't even know a realtor partner up there, you know. And so like you just want to get your face out there because a lot of your friends and family are seeing that content and they're just not, they maybe not be engaging with it, they may be watching it, but they're not maybe clicking or commenting, but they are seeing it.
Yeah.
And if you're someone like me and you're pumping out videos and stuff, like one in every 200-300, maybe 1,000 people are doing this, and they may not be engaging with it, but they like seeing it if it's produced well, even if it's a selfie thing, on your camera. Like nowadays with your camera, you can put out some really good content. And then if you sprinkle in some professional stuff from somebody with an actual camera and a little bit of knowledge on how to make some cool transitions and stuff, like people, they see that and they're like, oh, that's cool. And so I think it certainly does increase my business, if not just my brand awareness and my popularity. Because at the end of the day, real estate, if you assuming you're competent, is a little bit of a popularity contest because there's a lot of agents out there that can do what you do. It's like, can you be more top of mind and can you be more popular? If to put it in terms that are probably pretty vain.
I think there's a couple things going on there. One is I think you're taking competence for granted. I think that there is a differentiating factor between uh, top-notch agents and
Yeah.
the average agent, and most of that deals with competence, honestly. But I do want to talk about this because it sounds like this is very intentional for you. So how do you go through the plan? What is the, if you don't mind me asking, like, so you set up with your photographer and you're like, all right, hey, listen, this month we're going to do X, Y, and Z, or how does that work for you? Like, walk me through that process.
Yeah. So like my process is very unique and it probably only works for me. So
Sure.
basically like I don't have like a whole lot of structure. It's kind of I kind of have two different video types that I do. I do lifestyle video stuff that builds around my brand and builds around me. And then I have videos that are like property specific. And so the
Sure.
property specific ones are pretty easy. There's kind of a formula for it. You want to, I mean, you're telling the story on the property. Pretty simple stuff. Some properties are a little bit harder just because maybe they're not super unique, or maybe they're not like, the 1,000 acre ranch that everybody wants to see. Maybe it's a 10 acre piece just outside town. And so some of those I'm dialoguing with ChatGPT just to help me come up with a loose script. I do not script. I tried scripting. I lose my voice whenever I script. I just come up with really broad ideas, and then I'll start filming, you know, uh, and taking retakes and takes until I get it right. And we've gotten pretty good. And with our editing style, it's like he can just keep it rolling, and I can just retake it right there. I don't have to like stop and reset and
Yep.
redo. I can just redo sections. And then the other video type is the lifestyle video. And those are kind of like the ones that are kind of always trying to build on the last one. And it can be stuff with my family. It can be, you know, I'm out here driving T-posts in the ground near survey pin markers in the ground, and just doing a video just showing like whether it's behind the scenes or it's informational, but I always try to like build a little bit of value or maybe an understanding of what I do. And so I don't think that a day in the life video is like my style, although I do find myself watching people's videos that do that stuff. I think it's like people have an idea of what I do, but they don't really know what I do all day. Just like I have no idea what you do all day. And it's like sometimes I sprinkle in a tasteful bit of like, this is some of the stuff I actually do. And I find that like my people, like I run into my friends and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I saw you were driving T-posts in the ground the other day, Mark." And sorry, I had no idea you did stuff like that. It's so cool because, blah 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 blah. And so I try to make things that are conversation starters, even though they probably won't get any significant amount of engagement on Instagram or Facebook. It's just I think people like seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering too, just because this is for some people, social media is either something that's really, really easy, they've got it locked in, or it's an enigma, right? Um, so I'm just curious, what is what is the if you had to say like what is the driving force behind the lifestyle stuff? I think everybody's familiar about like, hey, this is what this property is. There's some statistics you're going to get on it. There's some facts you're going to get on it. But what's the driving force? So when somebody says a lifestyle, I'm curious, is this, you're calling your photographer and you're saying, hey, listen, I want you to meet me on this property. We're going to do X, Y, and Z, or because I think people want to know what the actual logistics of something like that might be.
Yeah, so a lot of times I'm winging it. Like I've been doing it long enough now for about a year where I kind of just have a running tab in my head of like the kind of stuff I want to do. And a lot of times it's just week by week. It's like I'm not going to fabricate something necessarily to because
To
that's
do it
not, to me
just to
it's not
do it.
lifestyle. Yeah, I want it to have like some genuineness in it. And so usually I'll take a look at my week on like a Sunday or Monday and be like, okay, am I doing anything that could be cool content, that
Right.
like builds on my brand, but also has a little bit of value, whether it's clarity or or if it's informational. It's like, oh, like a like an information driven video. I know it's not lifestyle, but like I'll just kind of look at my week and see what I have, and then I'll line up with my photographer and basically, you know, try to do something like, because I'm busy enough now where it's like there's always something going on that can build in that lifestyle video. And so I know it's not like a very detailed answer, but it really just depends on the schedule and what I have going on. Unless there's something that I've been brewing on, and then maybe I will, even if it's not something I'm actually doing that week, like just make it happen just for the sake of the content, you know? And so I don't know if that answers your question or
It
not,
does. So
but
do you have
that's
like, do you and this photographer have clearly worked together a while? Do you have like do you have him on a retainer, or is on a case by case basis, or it's kind of nice to have a, you know, on
Mhm.
demand videographer with you?
Yeah. So I was his first like big client. And so it's like, um, or one of his first big clients, I should say. And Chris is awesome. And he really works with me. We kind of, so we have moved to a retainer package, and I was kind of his first retainer client, if you will. And so we're kind of working through that. I like knowing that like I have a minimum spend every month,
Right.
and I kind of know what to expect. It's going to be anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 bucks a month, maybe sometimes more. And it's just nice to have that. And I would like encourage people starting out to like maybe find someone who maybe isn't like Chris is now like one of the best in Waco, and but like when he started out he wasn't. And so it's like ideally it's like you would want your CPA, your banker, your videographer, you want everyone to be in that general like 10-year age gap of you, plus or minus, because those are the people you're going to grow with. If you can find someone young and hungry, that's awesome. But just finding someone that has the nice cameras and all that is half the battle. And then in that they're willing to like work with you, because these are people you're going to spend a lot of time with. And so I like the retainer package, and for me, it's just part of that marketing budget. You know, you think of like big companies; they have a marketing budget that's a percentage of their revenue or their profits, however they break it down. And so I just look at myself as like a business. So it's like, hey, if I make a couple $100,000 a year, I should probably be spending 20 to 30,000 a year in marketing of some sort. For me, the cheapest and most effective is doing the video content. And because it's selling me, you know, getting a billboard and all that's super cool too. But like in some towns, billboards are super cheap. And, you know, bigger cities or even cities like, you know, Waco, you could spend for a good billboard 10,000 a month, you know,
Right.
and it's like, is that really effective marketing? Maybe. I don't know.
Right.
Not for my industry, at least.
Why land? What? Because when people think of realtor or real estate agents, that's generally not the first place their brain goes.
Mm-mm.
What got you into that? Was that happenstance, or was that intentional? How did that work?
A lot of it was very organic. It just kind of happened over time. I grew up on some land on the river right outside Waco, and we had what I would consider to be kind of like a hobby farm. Or, you know, we had 12 acres, a nice barn. We had horses, cows. We were not ranchers or farmers by any means, but I grew up with that lifestyle of like light farming and ranching. We had a huge garden. We had chickens. We had, you know, like I had chores that were around the livestock. And so, not to be confused with a farmer or a rancher, because I wasn't, but I just kind of grew up that way. And that coupled with my uncle having some huge ranches, like 1,500 acres, and going out there and spending time out there. And then my buddy in college had a huge ranch right outside Fredericksburg. Is like, I just love the outdoors. I love ranching. I love land. And so that's always been like a passion of mine.
Mm.
When I got into real estate, though, is like, yeah, I would love to sell land full time, but it's just, that's a kind of a specialty like commercial real estate. You don't just like start selling commercial real estate. You're usually mentored by somebody, and then you get you start developing your own book of business. And so sold a lot of houses, and I still do sell a lot of houses. But about 2 years ago, I was like, hey, I really like this land stuff. I'm already one of the top agents in Waco. About 30-40% of my deals are already land. It's like, I should just really hone in on that. And I'm going to really focus my marketing on that. Still going to sprinkle in some house stuff because I probably still sell 50% of my sales are houses. But I would say moving forward, most of my stuff is probably going to be more land focused, just because of the marketing. And so to me, it wasn't a conscious decision in the beginning, but it's become a conscious decision over, I would say, the last year and a half. And at first I was like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I can't give up the house stuff. And then I was like, I can do whatever I want. And so
Right.
I'm my own boss, and so it's not like I cut the houses off cold turkey. Um, that's just not what excites me. And what excites me is the land stuff. And like, I'm a person that I've got to do what excites me, whether it makes me less money or not. Like, I have to be engaged in what I'm doing, and I can really only be engaged in stuff I really like and enjoy. And so that's the longer answer. And so um, I think that you can sell homes and land in a town like Waco. Um, I think at some point though, you have to make a decision if you want to be the best at whatever you're doing. You've got a couple different categories in real estate in my mind. You've got commercial, you've got residential, and you've got that farm and ranch stuff. If you want to be if you look at all the best in those categories, they're almost exclusively selling in those categories. They're not dipping back and forth. The only ones that kind of have some crossway is land and like farm and ranch and residential, because sometimes I'll get a ranch listing that has a home on it, so
Right.
it's residential in some respects. And so those two do kind of cross paths. But if you look at the top land agents and the top residential agents, there's still very little.
For someone that has never got into the land game at all, and I appreciate that this answer to you may seem a little bit obvious, and maybe even to some people listening, but what are some of the major differences between selling land and residential from a knowledge-based perspective, from the nature of the deal? What are some of those things that really differentiate those two types of products, and how do you reconcile that? How do you work within those confines?
Yeah. So the land front, even as someone like myself who grew up like owning land, like my parents owned land and my uncle owned a bunch of land, that there's a lot you just don't know. And there's a lot of, whether it's mineral rights or executive rights or stuff about wells, like water wells. And it can even be geographically. Like, I could go with all my knowledge of land in Central Texas, and I could go out to Colorado and not have the knowledge to effectively, I may be able to effectively market the property, but I may not know. There may be some things I just don't know because I don't live there, and there's some things that I just but just lack knowledge in. And so the land, to me, if you're a residential agent and you're trying to sell land, you've never done it before, like a 10-acre lot right outside town is one thing, but like a couple hundred acres, like a working ranch or just a bigger tract of land, like there's just a lot you don't know. And to me, that can be pretty dangerous when you're representing someone and they're trusting you, is having the knowledge um, through doing the reps. And that's really the only way, and being mentored, along the way. I didn't really have a mentor per se. I just had to learn everything on my own. And I had enough knowledge and enough resources to go to certain people as a resource that I didn't need like a mentor per se, but a lot of the good land agents work under like a really reputable broker for years before they branch out on their own. And so, like, in the same respect, though, there's a lot of hurdles with the residential side. And like, you take a land agent who's been selling land and only land for a long time, and then you try to put them in the residential game. There's probably a lot of things they don't know or don't remember in all the steps. And to me, the biggest differentiation between residential and land is the like with residential, it seems like there's a lot of steps, a lot of communication with the homeowner because this is like their home.
Sure.
They're super invested in the process with you. A lot of my land clients, they're like super relaxed. Like this is maybe they don't live there and they're just like, hey, let's get on the market, do your thing, check in with me. I have some clients that are like, just hit me up when you have information. You don't have to text me, you don't have to call me. And so whereas like homeowners are like, this is like a very intimate process. And so like I'm not the best communicator sometimes. And so there's things like to me, like a really good residential agent is like on the ball, always talking to the client, like every other day. It's, there's all these different steps from switching utilities over at the end to, making sure they get the closing on time, all that stuff. And you just, at least I haven't experienced that same level of, uh, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like the same intensity in a land deal as residential as far as like all the little steps. And so, but with the land stuff, there is a lot of knowledge you have to have because like I'll call an agent and it's evident within the first 2 minutes whether or not they kind of know what they're doing or not because there's some really simple questions I'll ask, not to stump them, but just information I need. And if they don't have that information, like, if it's in a water system district, if they don't know that off the bat, it's like, okay, you did nothing to prepare because that's like, it's like, does the property have electricity? Yes or no? If you don't have that answer, it's like you didn't do any work on the forefront to list this property. You just put a sign, took some pictures, and maybe they meant well. They just did. You just know that they don't know what they're doing. And so I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it sure does. What is the, what's like the time frame, with residential, you're going to have days on market. Would you say the average day on market for a land sale is? Is it quicker? Is it slower? Because I have to imagine that's more of a niche market.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a little bit of a complicated question just because I feel like the stigma is that it sits longer. And I think that land is, there's not, I don't know if there's any correlation between the residential market and I'm sure there's correlation between the two markets, but I would say on the land front, sometimes it can last, the days on market can be a little bit longer. Sometimes you get sellers that don't really need to sell.
Yeah.
So they're listing it really high. And I feel like if someone's putting their home in the market, it's not just like, oh, let's see what we can do. It's like, that's usually like, like they're committed to moving to some degree. And the land market, like this year, for example, I've sold a lot of big tracts this year, like million, 2 million, 3 million plus. And the smaller track stuff that it's, in the $200,000, $400,000 range around here is moving slower.
Okay.
And so like, I think just the people that are buying the $200,000 piece of land and building a $600,000, $800,000 home, they're like highly susceptible to like interest rates and market conditions. Whereas like my $3 million land buyer probably doesn't care.
Right.
So he's going to do whatever he wants to do, And so it's just year by year. So this year I would say days on market for, stuff that's over million and a half that has some unique selling features are I would say have a lower day of market. And then some of the stuff that you would think would fly off the shelf, like more affordable land that's in good location, is just taking longer to sell. And so I think it's just just market by market.
When you are, let's say that you get a call from a potential seller, what are some things that they're going to say to you that are going to get you really excited about doing this deal?
When a seller calls me,
Yeah, like it's a potential client for you to sell their house or their land rather.
house, so yeah. What gets me excited is when they have when I can tell our personalities are going to match up. But I think what gets me excited is when they see the bigger picture, and it's not just like I'm trying to get the most amount of money out of my house or land. That's obviously the goal. Like when it's like as real estate agents, if I sell your house for $1 million or 900,000, my commission slightly changes, but not enough to like my goal. Like I want my clients to be happy, and so when I get someone who I have a client right now who like hit the nail on the head. They're like, listen, we want to get as much money as we can, but the goal is to get into the next house. The goal is not to eat, like squeeze every last dollar out of our current house, because he's like, my wife wants this other house. If my wife's happy, I'm happy, everybody's happier. And and he's like, hey, if you can get X amount for our house, great. But basically, if you can get us more than what we paid, and we, because they had a lot of money, a lot of equity in their house with their down payment from when I sold to them a couple years ago. They're like, as long as we can get into the next house, that's the goal. And I'm like, that's probably extreme. Like he gave me some pretty extreme numbers. Like I'm like, Matt, I'm not gonna sell your house for 5,000 more than what you bought it for in 2020. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna make some money. But he was cool leaving 25. I mean, I think we sold it like 30,000 under list price within the first week. We got an offer, a cash offer, and he's like, and so that's what gets me excited is like sellers that see the bigger picture. And if, a lot of times they have to be kind of coached through that. And I have to remind them, like, it's not about this or that. Remember, it's about getting into this house or buying. In my case, it's a lot of times it's about buying the land. And it's like, hey, you've been, I a lot of times I'll get sellers that reach out to me like, oh, we've been looking for years. And, depending on how the conversations and personalities go, sometimes I'll remind them like, hey, you came to me 2 years after working with another agent because you're looking to buy some land to build. I'm going to tell you what they didn't is if you had bought some land within the first 6 months of looking, because a lot of times what people are looking for, they can, if they're looking for any extended period of time longer than 6 months, then they're probably just too picky or they're just not ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, if you had bought something in that first 6 months, and like I'm backing it up with data, I'm like, look what this place sold for. Okay. The place next door is, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit small. Look what it's selling for now, 2 years later. It's 25% more. And so by waiting, you're waiting for the market to crash. You're waiting for interest rates to come down. And some of those things might happen. I don't have a crystal ball, but you're spending more money every year you wait. You're just gonna have to spend more money. It's like if your goal is to actually have land and build or have a ranch, every year you wait, things get more and more expensive. Sometimes year to year, things may go up or down or whatever, but like by delaying, you're more often than not, you're costing yourself money. And so when I get clients that see that and understand it and then act on it, or maybe they're like, hey, yeah, you're right. We're not ready. Like I'm not ready to buy, but more often than not, they're like, yes, we want the land. Thanks for telling us that. We needed a reminder. And so I've gotten to the point where it's like, hey, if I have a client, I don't mind saying that stuff because if I have a client that gets upset by it, then we're not a good fit anyways. And so, um,
Are you a one man show? Do you have a team? Obviously, you've got a professional videographer that follows you around all the time because you've got your own
yeah,
reality
he's right
show.
over
But
here. No, I'm
outside
kidding.
of that, what kind of team are you running with?
I'm a one man show, and Eric gets pissed whenever he thinks about that, probably. And he's like, "Dude, you need to hire someone." Yeah, and he's like, "I have agents that make half what you make, and they have two assistants."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Yes." I said that's the goal. It's just like I procrastinate on things that I'm not interested in, and the idea of like hiring someone and bringing someone into the show and slowing down to train them is just not doesn't sound fun to me. And so I need to bite the bullet, and I'm going to change that. If I would say most people in my situation probably have an assistant or two, and so that's my next move, is to hire an assistant that can offload a lot of the things that I feel like need to be offloaded.
If there was one thing that you do really well, I know this is kind of piggybacking on what we just talked about. If there's one thing that you do really, really well, what do you think that is?
The best thing I do, and the best thing I've always done, is build relationships with people. And I don't have like a secret formula. For me, it's just I've always been people driven ever since I was a little kid. And I don't think you have to be a people person or have to be super outgoing to be a real estate agent by any means. But whether you're extroverted, introverted, outroverted, all these different personality types that have come out, like, you can be like interested in people. And I find myself interested in what other people are doing, and I ask good questions. I like just follow up well with people when it comes to like building those friendships and building those relationships. And I think like over time you just do that. And in an industry where they can work with 10 of the people that do what you do, people are going to be more drawn to the people that they're in rhythm with. And so I just I don't. It's not like a work thing I do. I don't like sit down and text my friends or my clients for like for monetary gain. It's just, I don't know. I guess that's my superpower. That's what's come natural to me. And fortunately, like, I work in an industry where people are going to buy houses, they're going to sell houses, they're going to buy land, they're going to sell land. And if they have an option, they're going to use me, and I don't get every deal, like, but in most cases, because I don't have a previous industry, I got into this right out of college. My only identity, as far as work goes, is real estate. And so when someone in my circle or close to my circle thinks about real estate, they're thinking about me more often than not. Like I said, I don't get every deal. I don't want every deal, but that's probably my superpower, is kind of being micro famous, if you will, for real estate in my circle.
How have you been able to deal with the fame? How have you been able to keep your feet on the ground and stay humble, Nick?
I don't stay humble very well. I always need
Good. All right,
constant
great.
reminders. My wife reminds me.
Do you often go to like the local Chili's and say, "Do you know who I am?"
I do, and I order the Big Mouth Bites and the Southwest egg rolls, and have a cold beer, and I'll FaceTime Eric because he loves Chili's too, and we'll reminisce on good times. But no, I'm not that famous yet by any means. I'm just famous in my little circle of friends, and by famous I mean they all bust my chops because they always tease me about my videos, but secretly they're just jealous that they're not. They don't have
a videographer following them around.
For their job. Yeah. I did tell my dad. My dad's a physician. I was like, wouldn't it be so hilarious if like you did what I did? Like if you did literally what I did, but for your profession. Like I was like, I know there's some doctors that are famous on social media and stuff, and it's usually health related stuff. But I was like, that would be so funny. It doesn't translate well sometimes to other industries, and I've always thought that would be funny if like a doctor or a lawyer did something like that,
So what would be the analog for, what would your dad have to be doing that is similar to you driving posts into the ground? And that's going to be an Instagram story. Is your dad a surgeon? What does he do?
He's a family doc. He owns a palliative / hospice care company that's pretty big in Texas. And so like, I guess a literal example would be like him doing steroid shots in like a elderly
Sure.
person's knee.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
hey guys, this is a little something I do, and he's like, I don't know if he thumps the thing or not. I don't even know what he's
How
doing
would
at
he
the point.
address the camera? Is it, "Hey fam, we're going to be giving some hydrocortisone today."
Yeah, he'd probably
Uh,
be like, hey guys, Dr. Schwedock here. We're gonna, a lot of energy. Him and I are very similar. In fact, our voices are almost the same. He could probably voice over for me. And he, energy, high energy, and like, we're gonna inject this person's knee, get them feeling good. And by the way, I don't know if it's steroids or stem cells. I don't know. So
you
if
don't get
somebody's
into,
watching this
all
that
right.
actually knows,
Yeah.
it's just he's shooting something up into somebody's knee or shoulder,
Right.
and it's like, like he would be doing some dialogue around that, and like, you have it stuck in. Oh no, retake, and then stick him again.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds
Yeah,
very competent.
yeah. And so now he is whatever level of real estate I'm at, he's 10 times that in his world. Like he is
Sure.
the most, like he's what originally I wanted to be a doctor. And it was because of his passion for medicine that I was like, oh, I want to be a doctor. Like he just made it look so awesome. And then I got into the school and started shadowing people and stuff. And it's like, this sucks. Like you work all the time. Like the only way you make money is working. And the only really, really rich physicians are the ones that like own something. If you just work, you're just working all the time to make maybe $1,000,000, but like when you're not working, you're usually not making money.
Right.
And so all the super wealthy doctors all own companies, and so I was like, when I figured that out, I was like, I know I don't have the job security of a doctor, but I probably don't work half as much.
Yeah. Well, with that, I mean, what is it what are the things then that do drive you? If it's, it's okay to say, I like this job because it affords me free time. I mean, what is the thing that you really dig about what it is that you do?
So I probably work more than I lead on, but I work at my pace and my schedule, which I really like. And so, like, this is not an original quote or anything. It's just, people's like, are you going to be your own boss, make your own hours, make unlimited income? The translation is like, you may make a lot of money 1 month, you may make a little money a month, or you may work a lot 1 month or a little 1 month. But I find that like a lot of the top agents still work at least 40 hours a week, if not more. They're just doing it at their pace. The really good agents, I would say, are at the top of their game. They're selling a lot, and they also have great time management. I don't have the great time management yet. Like I probably sell as much as a lot of those agents. They probably spend more time with their family than me. And that's great. My kids are really young. Hopefully they're not going to remember the fact that dad's not home all the time. Hopefully by the time they're a little bit older, I have that figured out.
Mm.
And so, what was the question?
Well, we've just highlighted it. So that one of the things that is your kind of driving force here is you avoiding spending time with your family. Is there any other thing that you like about the job as opposed to not spending time with your family?
I besides not spending time with family, which is great, I offload all the housework to my wife. I did hire her a cleaner and a nanny. So I mean, like, hey, I'm outsourcing the father part of the job.
Great. I think I
Yeah.
think you'll find that is historically a good move.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of good marriages have that, right? I mean, that's what they say.
I would assume. Yeah.
I would assume, right? And no, what I love about the job is the flexibility. The money is nice. I mean, I feel like if you're good at anything, you'll make the money. Some careers compensate you better than others, but I like the flexibility. And I guess what drives me is just making deals, like making people's dreams come true, whether it's through home ownership or land ownership, or just putting together complicated deals. Because, I'll get people that's like, hey, I got to spend $3 million in 1031 money. And, that's hard to do. I mean,
Yeah, I get it.
It's not like there's $3 million and go buy a Bugatti and a couple cars. It's like, no, you have to be systematic with how you buy this property. And a lot of times you're putting together deals that are off market. And so what really motivates me is owning real estate. Like I love owning real estate and selling it and making money that way. And so I just like finding deals that other people can't find or can't get people to sell. Like I've bought stuff personally and been a part of deals where I represent people that pretty much only me, pretty much only me or my client could get that person to sell. And so it's just fun putting together deals, and making money's cool, but as soon as you get that commission check, for me, it's just it's over. I mean, like that's it. Like whatever, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I've had huge checks, I've had small checks. Unless they're over a certain amount, they just don't move the needle. It's all about, you got to go find the next deal. You got to go. It's like this grind of just work. And like we had one the other day that we're working on that, and I get this like excitement in my, I'll get like happy hands, my wife calls it, where I'm just like, it's almost like I'm going like this, but it's like putting the deals together is just so much fun. And it's like, oh wait, I'm actually might make some money on this too. And that's an afterthought.
What are you most proud of that nobody gets to see?
Proud of that nobody gets to see, besides being a father, because my son is we're developing a really close bond. People don't get to see that. That's freaking insane and awesome. It's like this little mini person, and he's starting to develop a personality and all that. And so that's, to me, one of the coolest things. But in work, I would say just how much joy it brings me to help people make money in real estate. And I would take a lesser commission, or even no commission. Obviously, I've never had to take no commission. Like helping people make money in real estate is incredible, not because they just have more money. A lot of the people I'm helping make money, I have a couple clients that are just have that generational wealth, and it's fun to see them do well too. But like the people that are like, my age in their 30s and stuff, and you help them make $100,000 and they roll it into the next house, or they make $200,000 or $100,000, they roll it in the next house and they pay off some debt. Like to me, those are the things that like really can change people's lives. Like if you give the average person $100,000, which is not a hard thing to achieve in real estate, they're able to really do some things with that money that could change the trajectory of their life. And a lot of the people I'm working with, maybe they're first generational kind of wealth, or sometimes like their parents did pretty well, got them through college, but now they're taking it to the next level. And so being a part of that, like I don't share those stories because it's sometimes it's personal, or like, but I don't want people to, it's pretty easy to figure out which deals I'm talking about. And so that's the part to me that I think is extremely rewarding. Is just, even if somebody, like the other day, my client sold a piece of land and he paid off his car. It's like he freed up $1,000 a month, and it's like that's a big thing. Like for a lot of people, to that's an extra 12,000 a year that they can do stuff with, and and so like to me, that's the side that nobody gets to see. That probably brings me the most joy in what I do.
So when you're not working and by proxy not spending time with your family, what do you do for fun?
I like being outdoors. I like hunting. I will say, with young kids and stuff, it's harder to get out there and hunt and stuff and go on trips. I'm sure that will come back. I like to cook a lot. We cook a couple times a week. I like barbecuing. I have a really nice smoker. We're building a house. And as long as everything with the budget goes well, we're building a nice outdoor kitchen. And so we like to host, we like to entertain. I want to be the house where my wife is like, I want to host a baby shower. So we've always had houses that are like host friendly. And so I would say cooking is a big hobby. Hunting is a big hobby, although I don't hunt as much as I used to. I mean, I'm not someone with a crazy amount of hobbies. Like I canceled my country club membership the other day because I was like, we literally haven't been in a year. It's like $1,000 a month, and it's like, like I don't golf. I don't play tennis anymore or anything like that. So really, I would say just hunting and cooking,
Correct.
barbecue.
Barbecue. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate you
Yeah.
doing this, man.
Yeah. That's
Is there,
awesome.
is there anything that you want the fine people that are listening to this? Is there anything else you want to say? So you get an opportunity here. This is it.
Yeah. I would say whether it's an investment deal, whether it's your primary residence, some land you're going to buy and build right away or later, or a ranch or whatever. If you have the means and it fits in your financial plan, do it. Don't wait for years and years, and don't put it off. I mean, you get, for like what one of my buddies told me, who is extremely wealthy, so you got to take it with a grain of salt, is you get one opportunity. This was advice specific to me. You get one time or one opportunity with your kids under your roof. And it was a conversation between building a 2,000 square foot house and a 3,000 square foot house. He's like, build the bigger house. You can afford it. Build the bigger house. He's like, it's not going to double your budget. Just do it and go make more money. And so that's my advice to people is, maybe you're on a fixed income, maybe you can't just make more money, but if it, like, I come across a lot of people that are waiting for something to happen to then go do something. They want to do it. They have the money to do it. So go do it. Don't wait. I mean, because I'm literally selling land like that I sold in 2020. I'm selling it now for almost double the price.
Right.
Same with houses. And so if you're waiting, for the bigger house or something, like, you're just putting your dreams on delay. I mean, like, if you can afford to spend a little bit extra money a month, or maybe it's a lot extra month, if you've been blessed financially and it fits in your plan, go for it.
Great. Thank you, Nick.